If you're just joining us, this is the Talk Corner with Auntie Jemima, and I'm joined by Sid Wamboy and Chiton Lovu, friends and colleagues of mine. So there's something that came up when you were talking about standing up for yourself, and I just have a question for the two of you. How hard or how easy is it for you to accept compliments?
Yeah. I don't take compliments. I'm very quick to give them, and when I give compliments, it's from the heart. It is though, but when someone compliments me, it's like, what do you want? You know, it's like you don't have to say it. It makes me uncomfortable. Because you didn't hear it growing up.
One of those things where it's strange, it's foreign. It's like someone says, "Oh, you're good at this." You're like, "Really?" Like you think that? Like you even want to ask them, like, "So, what I actually think is because, yeah, because a compliment. You think a compliment is like the way you give 50 bobs to cops. You think it's a bribe, because you're constantly at the back of your mind thinking, "What's the end game? Where are we? Like, where do you want this to go to? Like, what are you trying to do?" And sometimes it's a genuine compliment from somebody, and you're like, and the strangest part is, a stranger will look at you some type of way, and you've already had a conversation in your head, like, "Inanuka." How do I look? Yeah, like someone, and they could be like zoned out in their own, but you've already had a conversation with how they look at you. You've given a whole, you've had a rebuttal, you've argued with them, you've abused them, and you've moved on. And when you get a compliment, it's, I mean, for me, it's foreign.
Something as basic as "I love you." Okay, that one kwanza will trigger you. Like, no. I don't want to hear that. So tell me what you want. It's crazy, man.
And something else I have struggled with is boundaries, because I did not have my own space growing up, and I want to know whether it was the same with you. And I have had a lot of people walking all over my space, coming to my house, doing stuff, and again, because I cannot speak up for myself, I let them do it, and then later when they go, I'm like, "Akiwe hutai kuja kwangu tena. You have done this, you have done that." And I want to, at that moment when they're doing it, I want to address it, but I cannot speak for myself. So I have struggled with boundaries, and it is actually after therapy, which I started 2 years ago, that I have been able to say, "You cannot do this in my house. You cannot do that in my space." Actually, I put up a very long post the other day saying, I don't hate people, but I don't like people in my space. And people confuse me because I am a media personality. I am that funny woman you see on TV. So they think you're all outgoing. They think I am socially, I don't want to say awkward, because again, I am not awkward. I am me. These are things I've worked on with time. So do you have issues, or do you have problems putting up boundaries? And I just want the audience or the people to know, or the parents to know, or to just hear from the two of you. Do you have so boundaries? How easy or how hard is it for you to do that? And do you have control issues? Because I think I do.
That's like a last name. Yeah, boundaries for me were one of the hardest things. I didn't know what boundaries were, because I remember one time, there was a cousin of mine who was staying with us, and he was in my room, and he took my bag. I was having an exam. He went with my bag. I don't know where he went to, and he came back, and I was angry. And I remember saying, "Why would you do that? I had an exam. You didn't ask me. You didn't." And I remember being literally shouted at for enforcing a boundary, and being told, "Why are you reacting like that? What's wrong with you?" And even being told, "So you think you're a man now? You want to fight with me?" I'm like, now as an adult, I'm like, but hey, someone took something without my permission, which was mine. But boundaries were never a thing. And now as an adult, I love my me time. Oh my God. Like, I enjoy sometimes just being in my quiet space. Sometimes just sitting and just having a mindless moment. And that was not encouraged. You were constantly told, "We are family. So whoever comes, we let them come, let them come." So when you had, I remember having that stay out on the door in my room. the door to my. I literally had a stay out, knock before you enter. I had that. Wait, yeah, I'm considered a black sheep in my household, so yeah. So I did that, and even with that, there was still this is my house, these are my rules, I do what I want. I can go wherever I want to go to. I remember writing in a diary. You know those things, they seem, when you do therapy, you're constantly encouraged to write your thoughts, however you feel. And I remember doing that in a book, and the book being taken, the book being read, and me being called. I used to school in Uganda, so being called, so you think? And I'm like, first of all, what are you doing in my diary? Let's start from, what are you doing in my diary? And just having those moments and then being told you need to go to therapy because whatever you're writing in your diary is not right. So you're now taken to therapy for one Saturday, and then it never happens again. Then you get home and you're asked, so what did you discuss with your therapist? And you're like, but. So boundaries were never a thing for me. Now as an adult, I am learning to be able to say, I don't want that. I don't want to go. Because I used to use the we. We can't do this, we can't. But I've learned to separate, I don't want to. Like I remember last Christmas, I just wanted to stay in the house. And I remember telling my wife, I know we can do this, but I just want to be in the house. Like, that's just what I want to do. And because that's how I feel in this moment. But boundaries were a foreign thing. I didn't even know what they sounded like. And now as an adult, when I put boundaries, sometimes I've been told I'm disrespectful. Yeah, I've been told I am dishonoring. I have been told I am difficult. I've been told I am breaking the family apart. Hey man, one of those things.
What about you, Sid? Boundaries, what do you feel when you're enforcing a boundary?
First, I'll start by saying I could be wrong, but I think, especially from your background, how you react to, like, how you set boundaries is different. There's people who are going to be aggressive with it, like, this is my space. If you invade it, my coffee, man, There's others who will allow you to walk, like how you said, you won't speak up. Mine is a bit of both, because at boarding school, you don't get your boundaries. So you learn to just kubali, but then now that I'm on my own, I don't let anyone touch anything I haven't, which maybe is wrong. But you have to ask for my permission if you want to get into my boundary, my space. I guard it jealously, But yeah, I mean, looking back, you were made to feel like your space was not your own, even in your mind. The thing about your diary being read, mine was read, and chicks write about boys, right? And then imagine that being read out and people making fun of that. And so you learn not to even, you don't have an outlet. So you can't even write, you can't talk to anyone. So I guess maybe that's why I'm as aggressive as I am with my space. But I didn't get any boundaries, and as a result, I guard it very jealously, which I feel like I'd want to learn if there's a way to find a balance and what the balance would be, how to express that this is your boundary without coming off as like you're fighting people. And I know you have therapists here, right? So when they come, they can elaborate. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a normal thing, because I have friends who are way opposite of who I am. And I have seen them enforce boundaries without apology. I've seen them just, okay, when you're coming, don't do this, do that. Put this here, don't do that there. So I think it's normal.
I don't know if can I just say this without, how Azungus, they're like, I don't know. It's a no period. It's a, I don't want to do it, period. It's a you do you, I don't know if it's like cultural, because in African settings, we're very community based as Africans. That togetherness was enforced. I don't know if it's a cultural, traditional thing that is passed down. But imagine if there's parents listening or watching this, it's important for you to listen to what your kid is saying. Like, listen. When it's a no, respect it. Despite what you want, if your kid doesn't want to go play outside, that should be okay. Because then you're forming that individual, you know how to be an individual thinking, you form that way. For them to know that your opinion counts, your space is yours.
Right, and I'd like to also encourage parents who are watching the talk corner that, like Sid has said, listen to your children. Someone said some time back there was a child who kept complaining that they don't want to go to school, and the parents were like, unakataa kusoma na nimelipa school fees, ebu enda shule, and the child was being defiled in school, and they kept telling mom, I don't want to go to school, and the mom kept pushing because you've paid that school fees. It is good to give a listening ear to your children. Another question, and this is also because of the things I have observed and things that were sent to me by our lovely audience. When you're growing up as a firstborn, there is a constant reminder, ukigrow up ukipata pesa, make sure umetusaidia. And a lot of people are struggling with saying no to family. A lot of firstborns are struggling with over entitled family members. You're working now, nikikuitisha pesa unafaa kunipatia. Are you able to draw, where do you draw the line to saying, no, I can't do this? The other day I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she told me that she's doing right now is dealing with family members as people. Anatoa family, kama a normal human being. You're not my mom, you're not my dad, you're not my brother, you're a person. You want money? I don't have money. So how easy has it been for you to stop being overkind? Because I have also noticed yes, let's talk about that. Where do you draw the line now when it comes to giving and over what have I said? Entitled family members.
I think for me, one of the things that I freed myself from was I was the black sheep. Let me be the black sheep. For me, it was as easy as that. You say I'm bad, you say I'm selfish, you say I'm greedy, it's okay. Let me be selfish, let me be greedy, as in, you do you, let me do me. And for me, I think sometimes there are things that are said that become your exit point. And for me, just being the constant words that were told to me, I said, oh, so that's what you feel. Now let me act how you feel. So for me, I think one of the things I've not had a challenge with doing is saying, I'm not giving you money. For me, it's very simple. You asked, I am not giving you, not because I don't have or not because I don't want to give you, but because I feel when I open this door, it's a downward spiral from there. But there are moments where I have voluntarily, on my own accord, said, let me give. Yeah. This is me giving. But when you ask me and you pressure me and you whatever, I've gotten into numerous fights. I've fallen out with people. There are people who will never talk to me again because for me, it was a simple. I think because of, there's that thing that your head just does like a snap for. Like it's like a switch. Yeah. One day you realize, baby, I don't have to give you money. Like I genuinely don't owe you, because you'll be told, but I raised you. I took you to school. I clothed you. I'm your parent. And one of the things I learned, one of the people I love listening to is Miles Monroe. And Miles Monroe always says, honor and love are two different things. When the Bible says, because many parents, the Bible says, honor your parents. You honor me by giving me money. Things like that. For me, to honor you doesn't mean I have to love you. To honor me doesn't mean I have to love me. But the thing for me is, honor is outside. Honor is how I think of you. Honor is, when push comes to shove, do I have your back? That for me is honor. But it's been manipulated where we are told, honor your parents and your days will be longer. They forget that Paul said, and fathers, do not provoke your children. But we focus on the first part of the honor. You have to honor your parents, and honor comes with money. Honor is not, hey dad, how are you? How are you doing? That's not considered honor in an African setup. It's money. Have you bought this? Have you paid for this? Have you done this? For me, one of the things for me is I took the black sheep, I owned it, and I said, since you said I'm bad, let's just go the full yard. So when, like, let me give you reason to say I'm bad. But it doesn't mean if you need something and I'm able to, I will not help. I will not give you. It just means if I don't want to and I'm not able to, you should respect that.
Sid, do you have issues with being overkind?
I feel like we need whips. Because, so I'll start by saying this is, working at Kiss is my first job, right? And so, you, for most of you, like, had a first job, the excitement of being able to buy for yourself stuff, right? To be able to give yourself baby girl lifestyle. It's exciting, right? But being a firstborn also comes with the expectation that utarudisha mkono. And for me, I think it's unfair because, and especially because I didn't learn money until I started making money. I have found myself on a journey of just understanding myself with regards to money, right? So I've made mistakes, but I can't, and I should be allowed to make mistakes, but I can't make mistakes if you want to eat into my money as well. Like, and it's not that you don't have. You just feel, there's a time my dad said, I should be able to ask for money because I took care of you all your life. And at the time I was just like, but you have your own money. He's like, no, I want to be able to. And we went back and forth. And eventually I told him, no, let me figure myself out. If I ever get to a point where I can, then you'll hear from me. And it's not just your parents, it's also like if you have younger siblings, suddenly they are entitled to lunch. If they lose a job, then you're gonna give them pocket money whether you want to or not. And so I've been, it's hard, right? Because I have that thing for, I don't like to see people suffer, especially if it's someone I love, family. And then they'll manipulate you. they'll use whatever means to get stuff from you. But I mean, learning to say just no, Sina, or don't pick the calls. Don't even, like, you see it's there, you're like nope, and they'll call again and again and again, and they'll know. What you see? Now they know. Just snitch. Anyway, but it's hard. It's really hard. And back to boundaries. You have to set those boundaries, however hard it is. And especially if you've just gotten your first job, allow yourself time to understand yourself. Treat yourself, do everything. You deserve to treat yourself. Your money is yours to spend and save, but don't let people make you feel like they're entitled to your money. Yeah. And parents should also understand that. And Kibe, people don't like Andrew Kibe, but there's one thing he said. He said, parents should not depend on their children. Like, actually, I don't know who said this, but they said, your parent is not your backup. Your child is not your backup. You, as an individual, should be able to handle yourself in a way that you can take care of you, and your child as well, And especially when your child has removed themselves from a situation where they're depending on you, let them figure out themselves, man. Let them grow. Let them make their own wealth. Ndio warudishe mkono vizuri. Si hata ile kidogo wako nayo you want to take as well. It's not fair.
I think one of the other things that is unsaid in many, I guess, homesteads is the fact where a parent will go take a loan and then come and tell you, when do unalipa hiyo? That happens. Oh my God, that happens a lot. That has happened to me.
Without your consent?
Yeah, it's happened to me. Where someone takes money and then tells you, okay, so now, that person, now you owe them, so you pay them. I'm like, but we never had a conversation. Like, where you don't wake up, how do you know if I can? And at that time, maybe even you have your own debt you're trying to, we're in Kenya, everyone has debt in Kenya. And you're trying to deal with your own things. Now you're adding for me something that I can't do. Because of that thing of somebody having the foothold to say, you are my kid, you should do it. In fact, should is you must do it because I I need it. And I always respect a parent for me who sits down and says, hey, I'm stuck here. Are you okay if you do A, B, C, D, E for me? That way I have the control to say I am comfortable to or I'm not able to. And for me, I think that conversation where somebody respects the fact that you are an adult, you are an individual. I know I want this. I know you can help me. Are you able to? Because sometimes I feel for some parents, there's a disconnect. You have an entitlement towards what your children do. So you look at them as, the way she was saying, a backup and also a source of you to move forward. Instead of looking at them as you're an individual, you have your own plans. Do whatever you want to. But I literally know a number of people who have debt that is not beneficial to them. I literally know people who are paying debt because your folk wanted something, went and did it, and then said you are the one to pay. And then because you don't have the boundaries or the voice to say, I am not able to, you find yourself in a spiral, and that cycle never ends. Because the moment you're just about to finish this one, you take another one. The moment they take another one, or even pile up many on you, then you're found in a space where you barely can breathe, you barely can live, and things like that.
I don't know if it's just me. You'll find a lot of your family who only come to you for money. That's all they ever do. They don't just call to say hi. When was it, like, ask yourself, when was the last time your parent called just to say hi and find out how you are? But if you analyze, every time, even me, my brother, I told him, and I'm sorry to put him on blast, but I told him, because you know that small talk before they ask you for what they want? I say, "Yeah, ukoaje?" It's like, just get to the point. But do you see how manipulative it is? It's like, you'd never call. I could be in hospital, but unless I call you, you won't know I could be mentally at a bad place, but you never call to find out that. But when you want money, that's when you call. And you call and it's like 11 missed calls. And that's crazy. I think that transactional way of dealing with your children is why they draw further away from you. Because love, if you truly love someone, it's unconditional. It's genuine. Do you know what I mean? Like, call me and find out how I am. Not just when you want money.
So as we wind up, I want to know, has the trauma affected your relations when you're relating maybe with your wife? You've told me you're married. How has it been in your former relationships? Has it affected you? Because I've found myself in the longest relationship I was in was 7 years. And I kept going back to this person because I did not feel like I was good enough for someone else. So stuck in one relationship, we'd have issues, we'd break up, and then I'd still go back to this same person. And even when I came into fame, I remember telling my friend, I think he's the only one who knows me or who loves me for who I am, does not love me for the fame. So have you struggled in relationships? And does the codependency, like, did you ever find yourself bribing, for lack of a better word, being overly good for you to be loved? Because I think I have found myself in situations where for me to be accepted by a certain group of people or for me to be in a certain relationship, I have to overgive. That's the only way I feel hawa sasa watanipenda, but not being the real me. So have you struggled with the trauma in relationships and the codependency?
I think, yeah, the codependency, yes. I have found myself in relationships because of necessity, not because you actually wanted to be in one, but you just want someone to be somewhere around you because you are afraid to be alone, because you think you are irresponsible to be alone. And I think that happened a lot to me in relationships, and I ended up dating people who at one point would, you know that voice of you're not good enough, you can never be. You date people who talk to you the same way, who literally repeat the same things you heard all your life. And you literally have a moment, like now when I look back, sometimes like my wife and I are open and I'll talk about a relationship and I'll be like, what the hell was I doing there, by the way? Like, it doesn't make sense. But you did not know what safety felt like. You did not know what security felt like. So dysfunction was function, quote unquote, that you were comfortable with dysfunction. I know even like one of the things I constantly have to tell myself even till date is that thing of that's an individual, I'm an individual. My wife has her own stuff she needs to do. I've got my own stuff I need to do. Sometimes it's scary because you don't have the confidence to put your footing on your own, but you do it anyway. And for me, even trauma, I mean, sometimes I've gotten triggered and when I remember at one session in my therapy, I was told, write down every word that was said about you, every negative word, identify it. Yeah. Because sometimes you'd get triggered and you don't know why. Someone says something in passing and you are angry. And you're angry for days. Yeah. I remember one time somebody was giving, it's a funny story, someone was giving me something. Yeah. But how they were telling me when they were giving me, all I heard was the negative, negative, negative. For 5 days, I was angry, like mad, angry. I didn't want to see them. I was like, no. And then my wife had that moment. She asked me, she was like, wait, do you realize this person was giving you something? I'm like, no, they were not. They bailed out. They cut. Because us guys, sometimes you want to do biashara. Apana, they bailed out. And she's like, no. The person literally told you, here, have. Yeah. But I didn't hear that. Because all I heard was, because they were basically telling me a truth for me, but I heard it in the voices I heard all my life. And so that for me has become one of those things where I literally have to walk 2 steps back. Yeah. Somebody will say something and I literally will, okay, what are they saying? And try and understand it from that perspective, because even sometimes I have found myself now with a kid, I don't want to go the full-blown complete opposite, where you now like everything that was done to me was bad, where in actual essence there were good moments in family. There were happy moments. It wasn't all bad. There were happy moments. There are moments I think I'm like, oh, that was actually a good moment. And for me, it's to recognize that. And I usually tell Sid, I'm like, I have learned people are good and bad. Yeah. People are not good or bad. The world is not black or white. The world is black and white. So somebody can be kind, can be good to you, and can just be stupid, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Somebody can be evil, and they're generous. It doesn't mean one part of a person cannot exist without the other, or that they're either or. And for me, just to recognize that, and every single day to understand that, even as I walk in life, everyone has their own journey they're walking, but also to realize the truth is the world doesn't care about your trauma. The world will not sit down and say, oh, akona trauma, wacha tungoje kidogo alafu tuendelee. Or like your boss doesn't care about your trauma. I have work, it needs to get done. I mean, you literally need to function. So you have to be able to deal with what is the root issue. And I mean, I don't think it's ever dealt with in one day. It's like how, like, I usually tell people, because when my mom passed away 21 years ago, and I always tell people, you never stop grieving. One day, like, there are days I wake up and I miss her like crazy. And that day I'm just off. And the days I wake up, I remember good things and I smile about it. But you will never wake up one day and the trauma is all gone. You're like, oh my God, it's rainbows and sunshine. Somebody else will walk in your life and say one thing that makes you go, ah, and it triggers you. And just to identify what those triggers are for me has genuinely put me in a space where when I hear it, I'm like, okay, Chito, listen, this is not you. This person is expressing whatever they need to. So you separate the person from what they're expressing. So you're not happy. In their anger, they're expressing themselves. What they're saying is not necessarily a reflection on you. And also just to be able to also recognize that, hey, I don't like that word, because there are words I do not. Like when I hear them, that's it. I'm just like, wait, now what was that? And just to also identify when that word comes, not to allow the word to have power over me. Because allowing those words to have power means for me that the person who said them has the power over my life. So they are controlling every aspect of everything I do. So when I hear it, I'm triggered and I react, because I also had a lot of anxiety, and just being able to, I was told cold shower, just let the water pass. Something about, did you hear on the brain or something? Let cold water pass all the way. Yeah. just to be able to, and also being able, because I always share this with Sid, and I say, and with my wife, I tell her, I lost opportunities because of my anxiety. I got angry at someone because they said something, triggered me. I was anxious and responded in a very aggressive way in terms of wherever, how far, and then how far, and you emotionally respond, and the opportunity went. And then now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, why I would have done that better. But now, realizing that, okay, this is the reality of who I am. Yeah. Now, what has power over me? I have power over whatever I said.
Amazing. I have just remembered some time back I used to do theater plays, and I'm someone who struggled with beauty for a very long time and self-esteem. But then again, it is because I never had you're good enough. It was always constantly you can do better. You can do even when you're position 1. I don't know whether they wanted us to be position 0. I have never understood. When you got 400, and last time we had a case of a student who was being beaten thoroughly by a teacher. He had 400 and something, but he was still told it wasn't good enough. So I've struggled with beauty for a very long time. And then now I came into media where everyone has an opinion about how you look. I have been told endless times that I look like a man. And when I saw the comment, not once, not twice, now it started eating me up. And then I went to the theater space where, I don't know if any one of you has been to the theater, but people there just tell you anything. Unatembeanga aje, by the way, wewe. Wewe unakuanga aje. And I remember this play we did, and the woman, the character, there was a lady character. I was going to get married to a family, and in that family there was an auntie who was given a character of wale auntie hutukanana sana. And I remember she looked at me when I walked in. I was brought in by their son, and she told me in Kikuyu, "Ene gwiritewe musongi." So that means, have I told you you're ugly? And I remember we did 7 shows. I remember telling my therapist, I was told I was ugly 7 times. And I just kept remembering, I am ugly, I am ugly, I am ugly. And I remember that time going home. The first time it was said to me, I went home, it was okay. The second, the third show, it was okay. But on Saturday, the final show was on Sunday. On Saturday, it was said to me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I cried from Allianz to home in an Uber. I cried my way home. I cried myself to sleep. The next day I went for the show. My eyes were swollen and everyone was asking me, Nini? And I told them I went out, I didn't sleep. So that was why. And now when I worked on myself later, it was when I remember it is because you did not hear that good enough. You're good enough, you're beautiful. So you only pick the negatives. You only pick the bad things that are said to you. Today I see them a lot. I look like my father. It's okay. When you tell me I look like a man, firstborn daughters, by the way, are a complete version of their fathers. If my father stands here, by the way, you'll think we are siblings. But that time when it was said to me, I felt very bad. I felt very ugly about myself. But I keep working on myself. It's like you said, it's not a one-day thing. You keep working on yourself, and it is a journey. But people need to be kind out there, by the way. Just be kind. Before you put anything out there, just be kind. I'm told we need to go for a short break by my producer. We'll be back. Chanisemeka Churchill. We'll be right back after the break.